All right, we are out here taking our first shots on this thing. Now, I will show you something I found out. So remember yesterday we were talking about this handle and how it unthreads. Well, deep in one of the pockets that I didn't feel the first time, whoops, was actually an extension. So it has a built-in extension that just threads right on. So you're not affecting the locking end, you're just affecting the ball end, and then you just thread this back on, and now you have effectively this much more length, which is going to be great for those guys that have really long stocks, you know, some of the Z rails and anything that's running a front rail bag rider. So this comes with it, and it's a really nice addition. So I think he's really thought this out well. So let's get this on here. I don't need the long one. So we're going to get this on. And I've got this adjusted the way I like it. Now I tend to run a little bit tighter on my front joystick. So I've got a little bit more friction, a little bit more pressure. I've been getting used to how the elevation is going to work and how the rotating head works. And we're just going to get loaded up here and we'll take a few shots on it and see what we think. So I've been working on getting the front tension set up. It does have built-in numbers here, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch. So you can apply the proper distance without having the front rest in there. I will tell you, it's pretty dead on for my stock, which it should be because we all run a 3-inch forend. But then you do have some tension knobs. They do move out like we saw before. The Teflon pads don't move out a lot, but I was surprised at how much tension I could give it one way or the other. You can see when I'm running mine, it's not completely loose, but it's definitely got a little bit of tension on the front, and that's just how I like it to ride. I have been able to obviously run my elevation from my rear position here, and one thing that I have noticed is that you don't have to necessarily, I still would if I was at a competition, you know, lock down the vertical here, but the reality is the way this thing is designed compared to other rests, you cannot affect your bridge falling even if you don't have it locked down, which really surprised me. So I can easily move it with the dial, but I can't affect it up or down, and I've really leaned on this thing. So I do like the fact that if you want to run it without locking down the other side, it will still completely hold position without migrating down. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, let's finish getting set up here. The thing we had talked about earlier is the fact that this front forend stop does wiggle a little bit, and that's really great, especially if you have a front forend that maybe isn't completely true. I'm amazed, you know, no matter how square this is and how square some of these have been in the past, you still might end up in a situation where only one of these bumpers touches and then the other one might be just a hair off. This way you're getting full engagement when you get back into battery, and that does help make sure that both sides of the stock are like fully engaged up front. One thing that I have kind of anecdotally found is that obviously depending on how you have this rest turn, now I've got it with the 2 feet in the back. I know I think on the other video I'd said that I run it the other way. That's not true. Even when I had my Neo, I had the 2 feet back. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, I run the 2 feet back and then 1 foot forward. But when you're running it that way, this is going to be opposite. So down is to the right and left is up. You know, kind of what I've been used to is that turning it that way is going to run it down. Obviously, it just depends on what you get used to here. Let me think. If it was flipped around, it would be the same thing. So either way, you're going to be turning it inside to lower and this way up. Not a big deal, but depending on the rest you're used to, you know, you just kind of have to get used to this again. And it's just opposite of what my brain is telling me to do. Okay, here we go. We're going to run a couple blow-off shots here. Let's see how she works. Well, that's solid. No hint of torquing. Just nothing. Okay. All right. Well, that is really nice. Really solid engagement. You can feel the stock engaging on that Teflon. And you know, I haven't ever shot with Teflon on the side like that. I've shot with some PTFE tape and some other stuff, UMHW tape. I can't remember what it's called, but never with an actual Teflon pad. And it really seems to give it some movement, but I mean, no torque is coming out of this thing, which is really surprising. Even on my Mini, I get a little bit of torque once in a while. You know, granted, I just started shooting on this, but that's just sort of my initial impression on it. I got to do a quick seating depth thing, and I will be right back. Let's fire up a couple more here. All right, so let me take off the joystick for a second, and I want to show you. We talked about the slight angle that the head has. I'm really used to having a bent angle in the handle, you know, about halfway to do some different rotations. This is taking just a little getting used to, but I will say that it's a little better design, I think, in how the handle is curved, because it's not such an abrupt change as you're rotating. You know, as you're rotating this handle through, you get a lot of movement change, but it's a different kind of movement, and I feel like it's a little more subtle. It's not quite as abrupt, like I said, so that's good. All right, let's see if I can come back a little bit more for you here. And I'm sorry, they apparently are doing gardening today, so little maintenance at the club. Overall movement on target is pretty substantial. I have to say, even zoomed in at 100 yards, I'm covering a 4-foot target board without a problem. So that's really good. I might have bumped you there, sorry. I'm just doing a seating depth test today, so every time I'm turning this off, I'm just pushing some bullets in, so I'll be back in a minute. Rather than bore you with a bunch more shots that were the same, I thought I did a little bit more of my testing, but I'm just going to give you some more thoughts that I'm having here. The first thing is the way that this levels, really it's no different. You've got some, you know, threaded feet, they're going to come out the bottom. The way they engage makes it a lot easier, but adjustment is going to be pretty much the same. One thing that is interesting, you've got the bubble level way down here, and then you've got a level on each of these, and they are all slightly different. And even in the instructions, Seb will tell you, do not trust those levels because your bags will settle. But here's what I typically do. Your bags are going to settle to a certain point where they're not going to move much anymore, and especially because I'm using the Teflon pads and that small little sandbag in the middle. What I've done is I've taken my level off of my, you know, my rings and everything, which I know are level here, and I found a point on these levels where I know that if I set up the rest again next time, I will know that the gun is level. So that'll get me a little faster acquisition on that. So, you know, you can kind of figure out something within the level system that's going to work for you. But, you know, he's super open about it. He tells you the levels are not going to be accurate every time, or over time. You got to watch for bag settling. So that's definitely true. I talked about how much adjustment I had left to right. So at 100 yards here, I've got a full 4 feet at 50 power. Which is pretty good. It means I can cover my entire target board. I have not been able to do that. I think even my Mini is a little limited compared to that. So I'm getting a little more travel there. Up and down, I'm able to cover at minimum the 2 foot height of my board out there at 100 yards. Overall, again, I haven't had any torquing. I've put so far maybe 20 shots through it. I'm going to be doing a tuner test here in a second because I've got the brand new Cortina tuners up there. So I'm going to push a bunch of bullets back. We're going to come back, and then I'm going to shoot a lot of rounds in succession, and we'll kind of move around. I'll show you from a couple different angles how the rest is working. All right, we're going to do a couple head-on shots here while I do a little testing. So it does feel like, I don't want to do it here, but I am going to just slightly tweak. There's a couple settings that you can make underneath the head, and I am going to loosen this up just a hair, I think. That's why I don't want to do it yet. This thing is doing, on a side note, this gun is, at least right now, making me feel pretty happy. Give me 1 second here. All right, we'll be back in just a second. I gotta grab something out of my bag. All right, let's get you a little behind the gun view here. Jerk that one a little bit. All right. But it's shooting nice. A couple more settings and then we're gonna do some verification stuff here. But you can definitely see how this rests. I mean, it's shooting great. I'm really happy with it. Wind's starting to pick up just a little bit out there. Okay. All right. One more and then we do verification. All right, well, just testing aside, which is going pretty well. I've got, looks like a really nice wide node on my tuner settings. But as far as the rest goes, you know, we'll talk a little more when I get back to my shop. But overall, I have to say, very, very stable. This additional width here really lets you push forward, and it's got a little extra length in the front so that you can really get a little, it doesn't rock. I don't know how to explain that, but when you hit, let me show you here. When you hit it, it's not tilting forward. It's definitely staying a lot more stable. And from a rear side standpoint, having those legs way out gives you a lot more real estate to work with inside. So really like that. The Teflon seems to be a real winner. It does come with those sandbags, but I doubt I'm going to hook them up because for me, this Teflon just seems like the way to go. Other than that, it's just, I mean, very, very intuitive. No issues with it whatsoever. I really am liking the joystick. I wasn't sure how I'd like that angled from the actual neural net there, but I'm actually finding it's a lot easier to drive than the like kind of the kinked angled joystick. So I really like that. The honey dipper end instead of a golf ball gives a real nice feel. It is just a little abrupt compared to a golf ball, but you definitely feel like you're holding on to it a little bit more. You know, time will tell. You know, who knows? I'm sure there'll be some different options that people end up making to put that input there. So, you know, I'm going to do a little more testing. I'm not going to bore you guys with a whole lot more footage of the same thing, but I think it really goes to show that Seb really did his homework on this one, and I think it's a home run. So, you know, we're going to try to get one more video out before I got to send it back. You know, again, this isn't mine. This is a beta unit. I'm going to be shooting a pretty decent match this weekend. I'm going to try to get this in the hands of a couple other people and let them shoot a relay off it or two and see what they think about it. I'll be posting this video obviously now, and then I'll be posting hopefully Monday after my match to kind of give a post-match feedback on how this thing works. But I'm just super stoked. This thing is very exciting. It's very smooth. Just really feels like an extension of you. So there you go. I hope you guys are having a good one. Talk to you later.